the Ice Age and the first settlers. Estonia, where digital dreams meet medieval streets, where every song tells a tale of freedom, and the skyline blends towers with tech. This is the history of Estonia. As the ice glaciers retracted thousands of years ago, they revealed a landscape that would become Estonia, setting the stage for the first settlers to move in. These early inhabitants, Finno-Ugric tribes, laid the foundational stones of what would become a rich tapestry of Estonian history. The Estonians first entered the annals of history through the writings of the Roman historian Tacitus, who mentioned their trade connections with the Roman Empire and beyond. The societal structure of early Estonia was organized into regions, each overseen by local chieftains. These leaders made decisions in consultation with assemblies of free men, a testament to the early forms of democratic governance. From the 9th century, Vikings from the east navigated through Estonian waters, marking the beginning of centuries of interaction that included both trade and plundering. Expeditions from Estonia towards Sweden and Denmark. From the 11th century onwards, throughout the 11th to 12th centuries, Estonia faced repeated attacks, particularly from Russian forces in the southeast. During the same period, German and Danish incursions, driven by a desire for conquest, eventually adopted a religious pretext. Crusaders, conquerors, and the struggle for sovereignty, aiming to Christianize the still pagan Estonians. Estonia, alongside the other Baltic regions, became a focal point for European knights, engaging in crusades. In 1202, the German Bishop Albert established the Sword Brother Order in Riga, marking the beginning of a significant period of conflict. The Estonians faced defeat at the Battle of Viljandi by a coalition of German knights, Latvians and Livonians, leading to the southern part of Estonia falling under the dominion of the Sword Brother Order and the Bishop of Riga. To quell resistance in northern Estonia, the Germans enlisted the support of Danish King Valdemar the Victorious, who successfully conquered the region, including Tallinn. Despite the conquest, Danish colonization did not ensue, and following several Estonian revolts, northern Estonia was sold to the Teutonic Order by King Valdemar Atterdag in 1346. For centuries, German rule persisted in Estonia, with many cities joining the Hanseatic League and prospering through trade with Russia. Initially, Estonian peasants maintained their freedom, but over time, they were subjected to serfdom, burdened with increasing labor obligations. Reformation began spreading in the Baltics around the 1520s, undermining the Teutonic Order's authority. Amidst growing threats from Russia and the united Poland-Lithuania to the east, Tsar Ivan III of Russia had annexed Novgorod, and in a strategic move against Livonia, which included southern Estonia, erected the Ivangorod fortress in 1492, opposite the Teutonic Order's Hermann Castle in Narva, a key trading city. The situation escalated in 1558, when Tsar Ivan IV, known as the Terrible, invaded Livonia, capturing Narva and Tartu. This invasion led to the dissolution of the Teutonic Order's state, plunging the region into turmoil. Efforts by the Order's knights to ally with Catholic Poland-Lithuania against the Russians were hindered by opposition from Protestant Germans. Consequently, Denmark acquired the islands of Dago and Åsel, along with Wiik, on the Estonian mainland in 1559, reshaping the region's political landscape. In 1561, Swedish forces, led by King Erik XIV, captured Tallinn, marking the onset of Swedish rule in Estonia, initially limited to its northern regions, while the southern areas became part of Poland-Lithuania. Despite Ivan the Terrible's persistent ambitions, his efforts to conquer Estonia were thwarted, culminating in a decisive Swedish victory at the Battle of Narva. The ensuing decades saw Estonia as the focal point of numerous conflicts, notably during the period from 1558 to 1629, characterized by extensive destruction and suffering. The 30 Years' War saw Sweden, under King Gustavus Adolphus, extending its territory to include southern Estonia and Latvia, effectively consolidating Swedish control over Estonia, especially after Denmark relinquished its last Baltic islands to Sweden. Under Swedish governance, German remained the lingua franca, with the German aristocracy and the autonomous cities preserving their privileges. Although Swedish immigration was minimal, some Swedish nobles acquired estates in Estonia, transforming it into a crucial grain supplier to Sweden and securing lucrative Baltic Sea trade revenues. A substantial Swedish military presence in Estonia and Livonia served as a strategic deterrent against Russian aggression. The 17th century witnessed the introduction of several Swedish reforms aimed at diminishing the German nobility's influence, including regularization of serf obligations, the promotion of compulsory literacy, and the establishment of a university in Tartu. Efforts to translate the New Testament into Estonian and mandate Estonian language proficiency among clergy and officials were part of these reforms, varied in intensity with each reigning monarch. Despite these efforts, the German nobility retained significant local influence, yet this era is nostalgically remembered in Estonian folklore as the good old Swedish times. The Great Northern War brought additional hardships to Estonia, including crop failures, plagues, and constant military engagements, leading to a drastic population decline. Charles XI's initial victory at Narva in 1700 was short-lived, as his subsequent focus on Poland allowed Russian forces to gradually assert control over Estonia. By 1710, Tallinn's Swedish garrison had surrendered, ending Swedish sovereignty and ushering in a new era of Russian dominion over Estonia. Under Tsarist Russia, the Baltic provinces were granted a measure of autonomy, allowing young nobles to pursue careers in the Russian military or bureaucracy. Estonia was designated as a distinct province, with the south forming part of Livonia. The post-war era facilitated economic recovery, yet Russian rule imposed stricter conditions on peasants, sparking numerous uprisings. Despite the abolition of serfdom, peasants remained largely landless and subjugated by landowners. Reforms in the 1850s enabled peasants to purchase land and abolished compulsory labor, culminating in peasants owning 40% of the land. By the century's end, educational advancements among the peasantry diminished Germanic influence, particularly in urban areas, where Tallinn experienced a notable rise in its Estonian populace, buoyed by industrialization and railway expansion. The University of Tartu emerged as a hub for Estonian nationalism, particularly against the backdrop of intensified Russification efforts in the late 19th century, which sought to impose Russian language and culture.